Let's talk about the fifth line in the profiles. There's a lot to unpack about the fifth line. And so the first thing we have to talk about is the fact that the fifth line lives in what we call a projection field. And for us to really understand what is a projection field, the first thing we have to understand is the repeated use of the concept of projection in human design. We have projectors and we have the second line to a certain degree and the fifth line, which lives in a projection field. When we're talking about projection through the lens of human design, what we're really seeing or saying is projection is the ability to see the potential, to be able to look at someone or an event or an experience and to understand what the optimal expression would be like, and ultimately even know what needs to happen for the optimal expression to be completed, what needs to be cleared, what needs to be managed, what needs to be guided, what blocks need to be released, what conditioning needs to be untangled in order for someone or some experience to be maximizing its full potential. The gift of the second line and the fifth line, and of course projectors, is their ability to see the potential. And because they can see and innately understand the potential, they have the gift of being able to lead people into the fulfillment of that potential. When we talk about projection in human design, we're talking about the potential as we see in everything in human design for a high and a low expression. In the low expression, that projection can be expectation, false expectation. It can be fantasy. And so when we look at the fifth line and we look at the fact that the fifth line has what we call a karmic mirror or acts as a projected karmic mirror, when people are not interacting with you from a place of high self-worth or a high value, or if you yourself as a fifth line have struggles with your own self-worth or your own value, then you run the risk of stepping into the low expression of the projection field, which means people are projecting onto you or you are projecting onto them expectations, false expectations, fantasies about what you think somebody else is going to do for you or what somebody else thinks you're going to do for them to help them fulfill their fantasy potential. The key to living in the highest expression of the projection field, meaning getting out of that fantasy-based false projection place, is you've got to, if you have a fifth line, work on your own self-worth. You have to be really mindful of not stepping into a projection field that isn't worthy of who you are. And that also means that if you step into the wrong projection field, which is going to happen, you don't take it personally. You don't take in somebody else's fantasy and assume responsibility for it and develop codependent patterns. You walk away from it unscathed. The third thing we have to talk about when we're talking about the fifth line and to a certain degree the sixth line as well, is we're talking about transpersonal karma. Transpersonal karma means there is a little less wiggle room in your path or your destiny than, say, some of the other lower lines. There are destined or fated interactions, and you have a destined or a fated path, and it doesn't have as much give, as you will. It's a pretty fixed path. You probably sense it if you have a fifth line or a sixth line, that there is a mission or a purpose that you're on, and you may find that there's a lot of anxiety or a struggle around making sure that you're aligned with that purpose or that mission, whatever that might be. The other thing that happens with transpersonal karma is that people are destined to interact or connect with you. They see you and they come up to you, and you've probably had this experience of your fifth line of people saying to you, "Do I know you? You look so familiar to me." There's a familiarity in that connection because it is fated. It's destined. You have something by virtue of your existence. You have an energy or a seed or an initiation of some kind to give others. And so there's a karmic quality to your relationships sometimes. The challenge and the important thing to remember is the difference between being compelling as a fifth line, which means you attract people to you, versus being seductive, which is somewhat manipulative. The high expression of the fifth line is compelling. We love it. The difference between compelling and seductive is that if you're not valuing yourself as a fifth line, you will feel like you have to manipulate people or somehow seduce, if you will, to get people into your field in order to be able to lead them into the potential. And of course, that creates a whole bunch of problems with fantasy and projection. If instead you are occupying an energy field that embraces and fully reflects your true sense of value and worth to the world, then your energy field in and of itself is going to be compelling. People will be drawn to you. And because in quantum human design, we call the fifth line the visionary leader, you're here to lead people into the fulfillment of the potential, the right people, the people who are ready, the people who see your value, the people who you have the energy and the purpose to serve. That when you are in the right energy yourself, your presence will be compelling and you will naturally, as a visionary leader, draw people into the process of fulfilling the potential, their potential, and also the potential of any ideas or any visions or dreams that you have to lead people into. That is the highest expression of the fifth line. To craft an energy template of possibility and potential, and to, with great intention and deliberation, lead people into it from a place of high value and high self-worth.